Boris Johnson has laid into Theresa's Chequers plan, saying it's deranged. David Davis wasn't particularly flattering either. What's this conference going to be like for Theresa May?
Good morning, Isabel. Well, it really is a tale of two conferences in this city, because you have the official conference here where government ministers are getting up and they're still saying Chequers is the right plan, that they're wedded to it. We heard from Jeremy Hunt yesterday. We're going to hear from Dominic Raab, the Brexit secretary, today before Theresa May takes to the main stage on Wednesday. But then on the sideshow, at all the fringe events, you've got people like Boris Johnson, like David Davis, people in the really Brexiteer camp like Jacob Rees-Mogg, drawing in huge crowds for the events they attend, in which they say that Chequers must be chucked. Now, Boris Johnson fired the first shots of this battle on Friday when he published a 4,000-word article in the Telegraph calling for Chequers to go, saying that he would bring in a Super Canada Plus deal, and he even suggested over the weekend building a bridge to Ireland as one of his remedies to the current impasse. Now, this conference really is at the heart of the Conservative Party's big rift. It has battled itself over the EU for the last 30 years, and you really are seeing here a divided party, and it's spilling out into the conference floor, because yesterday there was people everywhere around here having real debates about Brexit, and there were some people up here handing out at the entrance badges that said "Chuck Chequers," and then there was a woman who even went in and tried to knock all the badges out of their hand and take them away from them, because passions are really quite heated here.
Well, as you say, passions are very heated, and we heard Jeremy Hunt, who you just mentioned now. He was getting very critical of the EU and Brussels. He even compared the EU to the Soviet Union.
That's right, and I think what you've got to remember here is that these are auditions, possibly, for a future leader. Theresa May has been able to defy political gravity. She's managed to stay in after setback, losing her majority, struggling to get this deal through. But there is now a feeling that in the next year or so, she may go. So what you're having is various cabinet members trying to appeal to the grassroots of their party. And I think that's why we heard the Foreign Secretary, Jeremy Hunt, using this unusual language for him, because he is lining himself up as the possible sort of more Remain side of the party to try and take over the leadership from Theresa May. But these comments, which he said, he compared the EU to a Soviet prison and said he'd be minded to leave now. He said, if you put Britain in a corner, we won't crumble, we stand and fight. Now, these comments were actually condemned by two permanent secretaries who used to work at the Foreign Office, who said, one of them, Peter Ricketts, this rubbish is unworthy of a British Foreign Secretary. The EU isn't a Soviet-style prison. It's brought law and order and peace and prosperity after a century of war. There was also criticism from the Latvian ambassador to the UK, because Jeremy Hunt was talking about Latvia and how he thought that they were being slightly oppressed by the EU. And she responded to say that the Soviets killed and deported, exiled, imprisoned hundreds of thousands in Latvia, but the EU has brought prosperity, equality and growth. So some real criticism from outside here, but on the hall floor with the grassroots, that kind of language went down well with Jeremy Hunt.
Vincent, many thanks for that update. Vincent McAviney at the Conservative Party conference in Birmingham.